Well, hello, welcome back. I'm Claire, this is Purple Poppy, and today, oh my goodness, can you believe it? We are starting the May Journal Monthly. So, I did tell you in last week's video, when we closed off April, that if you wanted to join in this week, or this month, and you wanted to make what I was making, you was going to need some of this packaging paper. It's the sort of thing that comes in an Amazon box. You're going to need some corrugated cardboard. I use fabric, but you could use paper to create the front cover. Now, you see I've got fabric on the back. You can see I've got the corrugated card in the middle. Oh yes, and tissue paper. And I've got tissue paper on the top. Now, all I did was I wove, first of all, I cut my corrugated card into slightly under an inch strip, painted them all with gesso, and then I put a napkin middle onto it, and then I just wove it through like so. Okay, like that. And that's how I got this woven. And then I just put another layer of napkin over the top. You can see this is on the top. And then I just used these 3 inks. Now you can use, you know, whatever colours you want, but I wanted to get this really worn medieval leathery type look, so I've used the ground espresso, walnut stain, and then the fire brick red. Okay, and that's how I created all of that, and it's really robust now. It's going to be a good cover. So that's how I did that. And then when it was all dry, about 24 hours later, I just splodged on some white paint. And the reason I did that is because I want to come in and I want to colour this area again, but I want it to be a bit different. So I want it to be different to the rest. I want it to have this extra lumpy, bumpy, years of dirt and grime on that corner. Okay, so that's why I just added some extra white paint there. You don't have to do that. You could just leave it like this if you wanted to, but I was just going for that real grungy, dirty, aged look. Okay, so I'm just applying the walnut stain on top of this white paint, and you see, because this hasn't got glue on it like the rest of it, it's much more matte and a slightly different colour. Okay, so basically just make it as old and grungy as you can with what you've got. And then you're going to put some of the espresso on the top, and you can see how that's now brought that really in dark. Look at that, really dark, but it hasn't got any of the red on, and it has got some like lighter areas there. So just get it as old and grungy as you can. Lots of different areas of wear and so on. Okay, so that's going to be my front cover, and that's how I did that, and I've just left it aside waiting for you guys to come along and join me. And then for the back, I've got this Mummy Grammy, which is basically, well, I needed that one dry, so that's why I've already made one. Taking a piece of my packaging paper and the middle of the napkin, you can see I've already used the top one. This is the middle, and now I want to take the middle off, if only, she says, and I want to use, oh goodness me, why can I not get this apart? And I want to use the back one. How can that be so difficult, Claire? There you go, you got it. All right. Now, if you wanted this to be patterned, you could use the napkin with the patterning on it, and then it would be beautiful. I mean, I've made this one, and I've used the whole of the napkin and kept the patterning on it, so you can do that definitely. Now, I did tell you last week that this idea, or this way of doing it, actually comes from Mel over at A Treasured Page. Everyone else that I've seen do this has done it with oil or water or glycerine, and they've added all sorts of things. Now I'm using decoupage medium. You could use PVA glue. The only reason I'm using this decoupage medium is because it dries very quickly, and because obviously we're on video, I don't want to take too long, because I've got quite a lot to share with you today to get this journal up and started and on its way. So as you can see, I've been quite liberal. I've gone over the whole thing. I'm sorry, I seem to be losing my voice for some reason. Okay. And then, having applied that all over there, I'm going to take my napkin and I'm going to pop it down like that. Now, normally what you would do is you'd go back over your napkin with your glue so that it was well and truly stuck down. Okay. This is going to be stuck down, but we want it to be the mommy grammy, so it's more like fabric. Okay, so now I'm just going to start creasing it and opening it, creasing it and opening it. I did tell you there are loads and loads of videos on how to do this all over YouTube, and lots of people doing it in lots of different ways. And each time you fold it in and you bring it out, it gets a little bit softer and a little bit more like fabric. And you can just keep going and screw it right up tight in a little tiny ball, and then gently, because we don't really want to tear it, you can open it back out. And you see all the creases, and you will notice that every time you do it, it gets a little bit softer. And I'm doing it while the glue is still damp, because that's enough moisture to keep it pliable. Okay, now I carried on doing this to this one for about half an hour. Now obviously I'm not going to use your time up like that. Okay, so you now know how to do that. So I'm going to drop that to the side. Now I need to colour this one to look like this, because I want it to be the back of my book. Okay, we've got the white from the napkin and the brown for the packaging paper, or the buff. I'm going to use that as my inside, so this is the side that I need to colour. So I'm just going to use the block and I'm just going to rub it across, and it's going to pick up all of those crease lines. If you've ever seen videos on making faux leather, you will have seen this done before. Okay, and that's the dark one that I've put on first, and I've gone from top to bottom. Now this is the walnut, the mid colour, and now I'm going to go from side to side. Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to pop on some bits of red, doing this much lighter and turning it round as I go. Okay. And now I'm going to spray the whole thing in water because they're oxides. This will now all blend and move. As you can see there, it's all blending, it's all moving. And then because it's the Mummy Grammy, I'm just going to screw it back up again. And it now feels almost like a dishcloth now that it's wet again. Okay. And then just pull it back out. Now you can see it's very much lighter than this one because this one's had more layers on it. I will go back and I'll put more colour on. Whoops. You see, you really need for it to dry before you put much more colours on it. So let's not ruin it as I've already done. Let's get that paper off my thing. And what I'm going to do here is use my glue brush and just put some glue through there. See, this is what happens when you are impatient. You really have to wait for these things to dry. Claire, that was very naughty, but that'll be fine. That will dry. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do my back. Just wondering, this bit that I picked out of my ink, if I can open this out, bearing in mind that I'm looking for grungy anyway. That is not really a problem if I can just get it stuck down. There you go. Okay, it's coming off of my fingers now, so set that to one side to dry. Okay, now this one, I'm going to take my scissors, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to cut it to the size of the fabric. So I'm getting rid of all this excess. This fabric obviously wasn't square, so just going to trim it there. I want this really old medieval looking book. Goodness me, what's about my pronunciation today? There you go. So now we've got this nice rectangle, although I can see that side is not very straight either, is it? So just straighten it up so that you've got a nice rectangle. And this is going to be my journal cover. Now, because we work with A4 papers, what I want to do is I want to fold it in half. Obviously there'll be more than one when I put my signatures in. And I want to bring them, so that's now 2 pages. And I want to fold them, that is about 2 inches, well it is 2 inches, look, I want to fold them like that. Okay, and the reason I want to fold them like that is because I want to be able to fold some of them up as pockets. So that'll go like that, that'll go like that. fold this the other way so that pocket is on the outside. So when I put my pages together, I've got 2 blank pages, but then I've got a pocket. Yeah, does that make sense? And then there it will be a top pocket. So now I need to make sure that this cover is the size that I want it, and as you can see, it's a bit too big. So I'm going to give myself space for my signature there, like that. Okay, so this is where my signature is going to be stitched, and this is going to be my back hang. Okay, does that make sense? So now I just need to work out how much width I need. So I'm going to come in a little bit, so it's not much that I need to take off. So if I put my ruler there like that, and I take my craft knife, that should cut that off. So now what I've got is my spine and my hang down at the back, so that when all my signature pages are sewn in, that is going to sit on there like that, and my Mummy Grummy panel, which is coloured and drying on the floor, will be under there like that, and obviously cut to size there. So that's how it's going to look. And then you can decide whether this is the front, and we've got, in medieval times, the expensive hard working leather on the front and the cheaper back piece, or whether in fact you want it the other way round. I'm going to opt for this way. So there you go. So this is going to be a lovely small one, and unlike all of our others, this one is going to open from the top. Okay, so that is basically an inch spine. You're going to get, yep, it's basically an inch spine. You're going to get quite a lot of pages in here if you want to. So there you go. That's how we're going to get started. And at the moment, I've just used one sheet of A4. I think I'm going to go for 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I'm cutting them in half, is going to give me 10. Okay. Work out where my half point is. Put on my ruler. Take my craft knife and cut through there. We got them all, apart from that little top bit. There we go. Okay, so this one is folded, and this one is folded. So then we want some that are not folded. So there's one. As you can see, I'm making 2 signatures here. So I'm going 1 folded, 2 not folded. So 1 folded, 2 not folded. And then this one, we find our 2-inch mark again. Doesn't have to be exact, just roughly. And then another folded. So now we've got 2 of each. Okay. And then I'm going to go through my papers and I'm going to find some interesting pages to add in. Okay. So obviously you must use whatever pages you would like for interest. Now I'm just going to dig around in my book stash that's next to me under the edge of my desk. Here we go. So I've got some shorthand paper. I've got the index from the legal book that I've got. I've got Cassell's Family. So we can have one of those. Actually, we could have one of those in each, couldn't we? Because they're very, very different. Okay, so basically that's 2 interesting pages to go in there. I'm then going to put a map page in one. Now this has got map on one side and index on the other, just for added interest. And then I just need to find one more page that could go in. So what about one of this history, timetable of history. So there we go. Okay, so we put this one together. I have got a folded page to go on the front. I'm going to put this one as the next page. Now obviously I don't want this page because it's going to be upside down, but what I do want is a tab so that I can stitch it in. Yeah, so this one's a pocket. Then we've got this one, which is quite interesting. And then this one is not a pocket. Now, we cut to the length of our pockets, so I am going to have to take off that extra length, but I can use that for all sorts of ephemera and things. So that's that one. Okay. And then I've got exactly the same thing here. So I'm going to take about halfway across the column. I'm going to line it up, and then obviously I need the fold over point. And I need to tear off just so I've got a stitch tab. Now what you've got to bear in mind is when you look at it, you're not going to see this because we can add all sorts of decoration and things to that at a later date. Okay, so tear off these ones because that's my excess. Now of course if you wanted to you could have cut this longer. So that is going to be signature number 1 that sits in there, and I'm just going to go through glue up my pockets. Whoops, glue up my pockets. That's that one. One. There's my top pocket. Whoops. My top pocket. So we need to glue this one. Did you see I went to seal it shut? Silly lady. Silly lady. Okay, and then we've got the one last interesting page to add, which is this one. So we want it about that wide. Obviously I'm keeping all of those to use at a later date, and that's going to fold there, and again I'm going to give myself a flap. Now to add to the interest, because the others have all got their tabby bits at the back, I'm going to put this one with its tabby bit at the front, just to make it that little bit different. So that one's going to go in there, and then that one's going to go in there for the middle. I have actually done that a bit long, so I'm just going to pull that off like that. I don't mind all these rough edges, I like all that, you know I do. So then that is going to be signature number 1. And then I'm going to do exactly the same, and I'm going to make signature number 2 to go in there. So if you want to get ahead of the game, you can lay your ruler, see where your fold line is, and then I'm going to take a ruler with numbers on it that I can see through, like this one. We know it's an inch. Yep, we know it's an inch. Now I've only got 2 signatures going in, so I'm going to do it at that point there, and that point there, and I'm just going to draw a line. You know to put signatures in, you don't need me to show you. And that's going to sit nicely there, and that's going to give me plenty of bulk to puff up my signatures. And then that is obviously going to be the cross points where I put my holes in. Okay, that'll be my cross points. So you can just take your awl and pop through, and that is where we are going to stitch our 2 signatures. Now if you want a really bulky book, then obviously nice fluffy full up book, then obviously you could come down the middle there. You could come down the middle and do a 3rd signature in the middle. I'm not going to do that because the amount I puff out my pages, that's going to be too much. So I've got my holes. You can see, look, hole 1, hole 2, 3 and 4. There's my 4 holes. You can see them very clearly. and that's where I'm going to stitch my pages into. So there you go. So there's signature number 1. That is ready to be stitched in on that line there. And I will just now mark that like that. And that's going to be signature number 1. And we will obviously look at putting something else on the front. So we've used corrugated card, we've made our front, we've made our spine and our hangover back, we've made our mummy grummy paper, and that is now drying. It's a bit damp, but next week that will be completely dry. May add another layer because it's a little bit pale in some areas, and then that is going to make our back panel there. So there you go. This is going to be April, not April, goodness me, we've just left April. This is going to be May. A journal that flips from the front like an old-fashioned notebook. Stay safe. I'll see you very soon. Ta-ta for now.